So I just thought, I have to build a fantasy world. So my name is Clemens Gritl. I grew up in the south of Germany in a very, very small village. At quite an early age, I was so bored by the surroundings, so I was always very jealous of people who lived in big cities, and I guess that raised my fascination for very big urban spaces. Since now 11 years, I live in Berlin. It was maybe one of the best decisions I ever made. So I'm having this kind of a mixed model. I'm working part-time as architect and part-time as artist. I moved to Munich first to study architecture. And in between I studied in Rome. There is one building in Rome which attracted my attention, which is called Il Corviale. For a very short moment I saw this building popping up on the horizon and I just said, what is that? I was standing in front of this 1,000 meter building, and there is one angle behind the building where we can have the complete perspective of this. To me it seemed like a starship, and even if it's not the best architecture itself, just the shape of it is so massive. It seems like stranded from out of space. When I did my master thesis in architecture, it was like 2 years later, suddenly I developed the urge to shape this kind of designs myself. And that made me discover brutalist architecture. It was kind of the first time I wanted to find out more about this kind of building. I started going to libraries and checking out old architecture magazines from the 1960s, 70s, 50s. I would say one aspect that intrigued me a lot, let's say major focus on the so-called new topographics movement. No images of beautiful buildings, but images of ugly buildings, images of streets where there is nothing, where you would say, why would you take a picture of that? This is the images that inspire me most, empty images, like no humans around. When you talk about the first series now, so this is like the first series I've ever done, this black and white series, which is called A Future City from the Past. It's all based on the architectural language of the 1960s, 1970s, where you had these crazy futuristic approaches. I would like to create a world where these buildings seem some sort of pristine, but at the same time I like the aspect of decay on these buildings. If you look at one of my works, I want the work absorb you, and I want you to come up with your story. What is that? So is it in the future? Is it 20 years ago? Has there been an apocalypse? Or is it just a late afternoon and everybody is at work? Or what exactly is it? And right now I'm working on the first series in color. Just the moment where the sun is going down. But I want to apply a new layer, a new, maybe dramatic, scenic element. What I'm showing in my new series, you have buildings that are incomplete. The major medium I'm working in is software, so it's computer generated. But I always start with a sketch. Drawing by hand is very important. Mostly when I start working on something, I even do like sketches that small, just like a little stamp, just to get like a basic idea of what I want to do. Then I do mostly the first step on the computer by using architectural software. Then mostly I always go back to a hand drawing, so I print like different stages, take a sketch paper and draw over it again. I do the renders to have all the correct shading, and then it moves into Photoshop, and I do all the post-production in Photoshop because I like this idea of painting with pixels. I find it very interesting sometimes that these very fast, quick sketches in the beginning are sometimes very accurate to the final result. I couldn't imagine a life without the work as architect, and I could not imagine a life without the work as an artist. And wouldn't it be a dream to bring both together and developing something in my artistic process and applying that back into a real architecture project? I really could say, as a conclusion, my studies as architect brought me to the artwork I'm making.